But now to a master class in civil engagement. In a now viral video, Baton Rouge activist Gary Chambers Jr. sharply criticized a Louisiana school board member who defended the naming of a school after Confederate leader Robert E. Lee. The board member also then appeared to be online shopping while discussing the topic at a hearing last week. And here is what ensued.
So I had intended to get up here and talk about how racist Robert E. Lee was, but I'm going to talk about you, Connie, sitting over there shopping while we talking about Robert E. Lee. This is a picture of you shopping while we talking about racism and history in this country. Only white members of this board got up while we were up here talking, too, because you don't give a damn, and it's clear. But I'm going to tell you what the slaves, my ancestors, said about Robert E. Lee, since you don't know history, sister. Let me tell you that they said when he got the plantation, after he got off the field where 27,000 people died at Gettysburg, Connie, Robert E. Lee was a brutal slave master. Not only did when he whooped the slaves, he said, lay it on them hard. After he said, lay it on them hard, he said, put brine on them so it'll burn them. That's what Robert E. Lee did. And you set your arrogant self in here and sit on there shopping while the pain and the hurt of the people of this community is on display because you don't give a damn and you should resign. You should have resigned 2 years ago when you choked a white man in his house. You should have resigned 2 weeks ago when you got on TV and said foolishness. And you should walk out of here and resign and never come back because you are the example of racism in this community. You are horrible. Now to the rest of the board. You have an obligation to the people of this community, and 81% of them are black. And do you need a Klan rally outside, Mr. Goday, before you end it? Because holding it up means that you put that building in jeopardy. You do, sir. Because all over the country, they're burning stuff down. And black folks in this city have stood with protesters. I ain't seen you elected officials out there with them, making sure that nothing goes south in Baton Rouge. It's been folks in this community who give a damn, not just when it's comfortable, but every time. And 4 years ago, we came down here. Mr. Drake, they say you're a good man. Be a good man. Black folks say you're a good man. White folks say you're a good man. Your legacy is attached to tonight, brother. Your legacy. Now, let me say to the black members of the board, it's the most solidarity I done seen out of y'all in forever. Let's keep it that. Let's stand on this moving forward. Because we don't need to apologize for Connie, Evelyn. She showed you who she was when she was sitting next to you while you were talking shopping. You don't need another example. Now, when do we as Baton Rouge stop being in 1856? If you want to name the building after somebody, how about PBS Pinchback, the first black governor of the state of Louisiana, when he was governor during Reconstruction? You want another name? Oscar Dunn, who was the lieutenant governor of the state of Louisiana in the 1860s, that gave the right for Darius Landis and Don Collins and Evelyn Ware Jackson and Tremell Howard to get here. You want to name it after somebody from Reconstruction? Name it after the people who fought for abolition of slavery. If you want to name it after somebody, honor the right people, the people who are on the right side of history. But it's your ancestor that the school is named after. So you're holding on to your heritage. But we built this joint for free. And we've done begging you to do what's right.
Thank you, sir.
The school board member who Gary called out, Connie Bernard, has since said she is, quote, deeply sorry for her actions. Joining us now is the activist and Baton Rouge resident that you just saw in that video, Gary Chambers Jr. Welcome to the show.
Gary, thanks so much for being with us. I got to start by asking you, are you a preacher, or are you what our good friend Elijah Cummings was accused of being, a counterfeit preacher? Because you sure sounded like a preacher up there.
That was good.
So I am a minister.
There you go.
Okay, very good.
The real thing.
Well, tell us, Gary, if you will. Obviously, a lot of people saw your impassioned speech. Tell us what the current status is right now in Baton Rouge regarding the naming and the renaming of the school.
Well, first of all, thank you all for the opportunity to share with you. We won the vote that night, and Lee High School will no longer be named Lee High School.
There you go.
Fantastic. I got Eddie Glaude Jr. here with us. Eddie, I'd like to ask a question. Eddie.
Gary, it was just wonderful seeing you hold the council accountable. Talk to me about the overall sense of the community right now in this moment, as we are pressing for a broad shift in our policing, as we're pressing for a shift in who we celebrate in our history. What is your sense of the pulse of Baton Rouge? You were the voice of that moment. Give us a sense of what's going on in the community as you understand it in this inflection point that we happen to be in right now.
I think that what's happening in Baton Rouge is what is happening for black folks all over America. In the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, we sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so the frustrations exist. And you see folks showing up, advocating, and leaning in on their local government because all politics is local.
Mike Barnicle's with us, and he has a question. Mike.
Reverend Chambers, could you help us out? Could you help the country out by telling us what it's like for you, your family, and thousands of other people who you know in your community to live their entire lives under the blanket of the Confederacy, the lost cause, and a history of treason that simply will not go away?
In the words of the late, great Chad Butler, they out here rapping about it while we paying the price. You can look at all of the streets around Lee High School are named after Confederate general. Stewart Street, Ross, Pickett. There's even a street named Whitehaven. And so when you go into a local school board meeting, what you saw in that video is really a reflection of what Black America is dealing with as it relates to white America. You have black folks speaking up passionately about what they feel, while you have a school board member, a representative of the people, a Republican, who's sitting there scrolling on the internet while people are expressing their concerns. And we wonder why buildings burn, because when we come before you, you scroll on the internet. And the state like Louisiana, that's ranked number 50 in the nation, we're ranked number 45 in healthcare. We're ranked number 48 in education, number 49 in the economy, number 50 in opportunity, number 50 in crime. And so when you look at that and you look at Republican policies failing us day in and day out, and a Republican sits there while we're talking about a critical issue and ignoring us, it's heartbreaking. And I think that's why it has resonated with so many people.
So Gary, this is Eddie Glaude again. I just want to ask you a question about the future and where you locate hope. You preach the gospel. We're in a moment where it seems as if the country is on a knife's edge. Where do you find hope, and where do you see hope and possibility in the community of Baton Rouge?
Well, yesterday was Father's Day, and I'm the father of a 10-year-old daughter. And every time I look at my daughter, that is the hope. When I look at young protesters showing up all over the country in the streets of America, commerce and leaning in on their government, that gives me hope. Because a dream deferred is not a dream denied. And this is simply our leg of the race.
Sir, to close, I'm wondering, that moment really crystallized your frustration, especially framing around the council member who was shopping, as the council was supposed to be listening to the frustration that really has gripped the community for decades. What is your next tangible focus in Baton Rouge? Because the board has unanimously voted to change the school's name. Obviously, there's so much more that needs to be done. Do you have more goals now that you have a spotlight?
Well, of course, and not just for Baton Rouge. When we look at the streets that are named, that I just named, we need to. When we look at the state of Louisiana, we have a university named after a Confederate general. When we look at there are slaves etched on the exterior of the Louisiana state capitol, while there is a statue for former Brigadier General of the Confederacy, Nichols, which is also Nichols State University. So until every monument to white supremacy is removed and we begin to uplift the proper voices, we got work to do. And until Connie Bernard is off the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board, we still have work to do.
We'll leave it right there. Gary Chambers, Jr., thank you so much for coming on the show this morning.